Hey, Linz, what are you listening to?
Brian, you share yours and I'll share mine.
With millions of podcasts, how do you choose?
We are here to help you find that next bingeable podcast.
Or that piece of content you'll follow regularly.
You're listening to Feed Drops.
Feed Drops. Welcome to our live episode of Feed Drops.
I am Linz Florin, and this is
Feed Drops. That's going to get old really quick. And I'm Brian of Sitch Radio. We are partnering together to share podcasts that we might not normally listen to with you to help you find that new show you need to hit that follow button on.
Absolutely. We came together. We met at a podcasting event a couple of years ago, and we've stayed in touch. And it's been great to share the projects we're working on and the shows we're listening to. And now we found a way that we can share it with each other and with you, the listeners.
And we decided about 20 minutes ago to do this live.
This is how we're doing it.
So
and it's great.
It's going to be fun. So the way this works, I choose a show, an episode of a show, and I share it with Linz. He does the same. We both listen to our episodes that we chose for him, each other, and then the episode that was chosen for us. And we're going to play some clips and share it with you. Now, if you like one episode, say the episode I chose, you visit our website, you let us know that you choose that episode. Whoever has the most votes by Tuesday night, we're going to drop that episode in its entirety on Wednesday. And then, the second place, AKA the first loser, will drop that episode on Thursday. And we want to make it clear, this isn't a competition between the shows and or episodes. This is merely a competition between Linz and I.
Absolutely. It's a chance for us to kind of be a little competitive with each other and bring really good shows, pull really good quotes from them and try to sound really smart talking about them so that people want to listen and they discover new shows through us and find these great shows and follow them as well.
Yeah. And I want to say I'm impressed by what you've shared with me this week, Linz, because it's a show I probably wouldn't have found on my own. And it happens to come out of your camp. And the episode I chose actually came out of my camp. However, you, the listener, don't think it's going to be our shows and our shows only that we have a hand in producing. Absolutely. We're gonna spread a wide net.
Yeah, I think we're just starting with the shows that are in our orbit already, and that's a great way to start with things we're familiar with to kind of get this thing rolling. And then we're going to get to bring in shows from all different areas and all different types of shows in different genres, and really kind of get to listen to them and share them out with you all.
And in addition to that, we plan on a monthly live evening episode on the Bullhorn platform where you can actually call in, ask questions via chat, and we can ask you questions via an on-screen poll. Well, more about that as we get closer to it. But we also want to share with you that hit that website, make sure you get your vote in. And while you're there, if you're a podcaster, submit your show. And we'll talk about that again at the end, but we have a page built out so you can submit your show for us to consider.
Absolutely. We're really excited to share shows that we've heard of and found, but I think we're even more excited to find and discover shows that have been submitted by our fellow podcasters that expose us to new shows, new things to talk about with each other, and probably make us better podcasters in the process.
Yeah. And I am a little envious. The quality of work that was put into the episode you shared, Linz, I was impressed, man. And it's going to make me better at my craft because I'm just a competitive person.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a good segue in to share about the show that I brought, which is called Mission Megaphone. And it comes from my company, Gross Network Podcasts. And we created it as a way to basically, we wanted to build a stage that people who are doing great work we believe in, whether it's for a nonprofit organization or for a for-profit company, that they get access to that stage to tell their story, because there are great people doing cool things out there. And, if we rely on the news or any other thing, we might hear all the bad stuff. But this was our way of kind of celebrating the things that we think are really important that more people should hear about. And so hence the idea of Mission Megaphone. Our mission is to be a megaphone for those organizations. And the best part of this was my team made it. We worked on it together. But at the end of the day, my team made the final episode that you'll all hear. And I loosely participated. So I'm not even touting my own work. I'm just really proud of the work my team did on this one.
And that's, good teams work for great leaders. So that's a pat on your back, Lance.
Well, thank you.
All right, let's fire up this first clip.
In kind of looking at what kinds of projects I was thinking about when the Encourage project came to fruition, it wasn't really a specific type of project as much as it was a specific type of problem. In spending a career in project management, I learned that a lot of things that stump companies are the things that stump us in day-to-day life, but nobody really knows what to call it.
This was a clip I chose because it resonated with me. I often look for simple solutions to solve problems. And workflow is workflow, processes are processes. And just because this workflow is for this doesn't mean that can't also work for this. And sometimes it takes me a second to wrap my head around that. And she just reinforced that.
Absolutely. I really love, so this episode of Mission Megaphone, the guest, her name is Amy Fairchild, and she has a project that she calls the Encourage Project. And so this is sort of her little bit of setting up what that is. And like Brian said, it's, there's a really sort of fluid way of seeing things that allows for a little bit of grace, I think is the word I'd probably use, that kind of makes, it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off when you're trying to take on something like this, any kind of project, really. Yeah,
it does. And again, it's oftentimes I'm just how can I solve for this? I've already solved for a similar situation with this process. Let's try it here. And 9 times out of 10, it works. This second clip, I love the way story is being used. You ready?
I'm ready.
What I have learned in the execution of that human project is that projects change and they require refinement. And that's been a great thing for me to be reminded of, because then I use that with my clients. It's okay if you don't know what's happening. We can change the plan and move it forward differently.
Yes. So many people set their sights on a goal and they don't realize mistakes are being made that's going to just be detrimental to them, even if they do achieve that goal. And being able to sit back and evaluate a situation in totality and make the decision, I didn't intend to do it this way, but I think we need to make these changes to help us hit that goal, maybe bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah. I think, it speaks to an adaptability, which I would, I think we all would love to be 100% adaptable all the time. Sometimes, when we're stuck laser focused on something, that adapting can be a little harder.
And I would like to share a story, not that we had to majorly adapt, but we intended to record an audio show today. And there's one thing that's always in the back of my mind, that when somebody suggests, oh, what about this? And my mind immediately goes to, wow, we're going to have to do this, and this. And by default, you go, it's hard. And when my brain tells me something is hard, then that means it's right. You need to put the effort in to get it done because it's going to have a better outcome. So when I hear it's hard in my own mind, I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. I think that's when I'm struggling, it's harder for me to make that leap, right? It's like, I'm not automatically jumping to, and you're like, oh, what is in my head that I'm not, oh, right. It's hard work. That's a part of the fun.
Yeah. And it is, we had to edit out a piece of video here because I made a mistake because we're rushing to make the change, but it's okay. We adapt and we're going to get an awesome episode out for you.
Absolutely. Which segues into the couple of quotes I'm doing here. I'm bringing from this episode. And I think the first one is sort of, one of the things for helping us adapt is to receive encouragement along the way.
by taking the opportunity to encourage or even be challenged to encourage 1 million people in my lifetime. What looks different from my perspective is innovation is increased, kindness and charity. And those I get can sometimes be overused and sound kind of woo, but they are not. They're critically important to our connections and our continuity as the human race. Those things become more prevalent.
You know, just for her to continually reinforce the goal of she wants to affect 1 million people, what a goal to have. You
Absolutely.
know, it's one of those where it's like, oh, if I could, 10,000 people would be cool. She chose 1 million. That's, you know, shoot for the stars and you might hit the moon kind of attitude. And it makes me think, are my goals aggressive enough?
Right. Because if she misses and hits 886,000, that is so many more people than she would have affected if she'd aimed for 10,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely, man.
And what is very, very true about all that is that everybody that she interacts with, there's some amount of ripple effect that's going to carry out beyond just the person she reached. And that's actually, if I've done this right, that's in this next quote right here.
I'll tell you a quick little story. When I was in Philadelphia, I was dating this guy and we go to this hamburger stand for lunch one day. And it was one of those ones where the server was on the passenger side and it was summertime and the inside of his car is white and I had on white shorts and the woman hands us a drink through the window and it's a Coke and it spills everywhere. And it's all over my shorts, all over his car and he's freaking out and she's crying. And I'm like, hold the phone. It's okay. Just give me a new Coke and some towels. We're good. Napkins, we're good. It's all good. And as we're driving off, he says to me, I can't believe you didn't yell at her. That was so stupid. I said, think about this. Did it ever occur to you that because I was kind to her for an honest mistake, she's going to have a good day at work? And because she has a good day at work, she's not going to go home and yell at her kids tonight. And because she doesn't yell at her kids tonight, they're going to get a good night's sleep. And because they get a good night's sleep, they're going to do well in school tomorrow. And because they do well in school, they might be my doctor someday.
You know, it's not necessarily like every domino path is that direct, but I think to think of it that way, that the people you're influencing will come back into your life in some way. It's statistically likely that you're going to re-encounter them. And if you've set them off in a good way, then maybe you'll re-encounter them in a better space.
Yeah. And that is such a beautiful way to think about that. I mean, I definitely couldn't have put it any better.
Yeah.
Yeah. That wraps up our clips for Lindsay's choice this week. Hopefully we pulled some clips that are putting that little bird in your head where I need more. I need to listen to this episode. That's our goal here.
Absolutely. Hopefully you hear us talking about it. You heard Amy's voice and it makes you go check out Mission Megaphone. Listen to the full episode when it drops later this week.
Will it be Wednesday or will it be Thursday?
Only time will tell.
I'm going to play the clip and then we're going to talk about this show.
Some of us were raised with the expectation to roll up our sleeves and engage in spring cleaning around the house to clear away things that no longer serve us in the home, to identify and make room for what is functional, whole, and nourishes our everyday atmosphere. Similarly, some of us take the time to conduct a personal inventory to clean up stinking thinking about ourselves that is necessary to help identify and make room for what no longer serves us as individuals. This form of spring cleaning may lead to clarifying our values and reprioritizing what we think matters with what does matter.
So I had the awesome pleasure of meeting Dr. Anita when she was a guest on the Orange County Dale Carnegie podcast. And after her episode, her and I sat and talked for about an hour. She is a consultant and coach when it comes to diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And we had such a wonderful conversation. We kind of hit it off professionally. And she now does a show with us here at Sitch Radio. And the show format's changing a little bit. And this was the first episode of the new format. They're shorter, more palatable episodes, which I know I appreciate with a 4-mile commute. I don't get a lot of podcast listening time like I used to. but her message and her story isn't done in an aggressive, you're bad because you think this kind of way. And she has such a wonderful way of putting things to story and explaining things that are like, oh yeah, I do think that sometimes. So that's why I wanted to share Dr. Anita's story. It is called Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita. And yeah, you can find it on all your favorite podcast players, but we have one more clip. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the clip that both of us chose, correct?
Yes.
So great minds.
Great minds think alike.
What'd you think of that first clip, Linz?
I think what I really hear from it is a sense of being able to, pull a metaphor that I've experienced in my life and make it relate to my inner life, right? And saying, hey, spring cleaning, a concept that I have understood in my home throughout the years. How does that apply to the cobwebs inside of me? And so I think expertly created metaphor there and pulled me right into her episode and her message.
Yeah. Let's hit this second clip.
Like traditional spring cleaning, getting clear about purpose may sound simple until we get started and realize we've underestimated just how much stuff needs to be dealt with. In the end, it can be as fulfilling as spring cleaning that clears away the clutter and leaves us with what really matters. After the process, we are empowered with a glow of clarity that gives off the warm feeling of sunshine that beams through bright, shiny glass and illuminates the whole house.
Yeah, honestly, that's the piece also that felt like it tied back to the other episode, that there was, to me, like a connection there that, that on the other side of this, like there's sort of some freedom or some lift that comes from being involved, from participating in that.
It's interesting. I have had a long conversation with a buddy that when things are chaotic in my life and I find myself overwhelmed because I've got so much to do, that I've noticed in my life, and this is over years, that I'm like, well, let me go clean this, because I'm making a decision of something I can control because everything else is chaos. And when you take the time to put together a list of things that need to be done and you prioritize that list, the chaos goes away. So that spring cleaning metaphor, I use it daily when it comes to to-dos and tasks and priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other, and it brings me, there was sort of something else in the episode. We didn't really pull a direct quote, but it made me think about seasons and how there's the seasons of the earth that we see, but there's also like the seasons of our lives. And there's like times when we're more reflective or more outgoing, or we're more organized, or we're a little more chaotic. And that sometimes you can kind of just find your way to the next season instead of having to make a big change in your life.
We now need you to find your way to feeddrops.com. Click on this episode, scroll down to the bottom. You can give it a thumbs up. You can give it a thumbs down, but we'll hate you forever. I'm kidding. We won't. But then below that, leave a comment. Let us know. Did Linz win with Megaphone? I'm sorry, Mission Megaphone. I don't want to speak out of turn. Or did Brian win with Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita? Let us know your thoughts.
Absolutely. And we'll be here next week for another round where we introduce 2 brand new shows and talk about them eloquently or spastically, depending on how we're feeling. And we'll do this all over again.
In the meantime, you can follow us on your favorite social media platform of your choosing. The links that we utilize, you'll find us, are in the show notes below. And hit up Feed Drops. Let us know.
Absolutely. And, you can support either of us. Check us out at our respective places. Brian's at Sitch Radio and I'm at Growth Network Podcasts. We're all active in our LinkedIns and everywhere too. Come find us, come talk to us. Tell us what you think of the show.
And if anybody ever asks you, hey, do you have a podcast I should listen to? Send them this way, because we're going to share new podcasts every week.
And the way that we're going to do that is because we can find a lot of new ones, but the best way is for you, other podcasters, to submit your shows so that we can include stuff beyond our natural listening patterns, because I think that's what we're trying to break out of here.
That it is. You'll hear from us Wednesday and Thursday, but we'll see you next Monday.
Can't wait.